Srimatre Namaha. One's life is decided by one's destiny. Life is not an ordinary. God has given an extraordinary sense to the human beings than other beings. Is it not? That's why there is a wise saying, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. That means the birth of human is very great than other beings. Why should we waste it? We have to have some goal. The life should be goal oriented. Otherwise, the purpose of life is mere waste. It will become waste. That's why everyone should follow the Purusharthas, which are called four: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Accordingly, one should lead one's life peacefully and fruitfully. Otherwise, the purpose of life will become futile, mere waste. In this regard, everyone should follow the cause of his birth, the purpose of his birth, the purpose of living in the earth. These and all will be decided one's lifestyle. We should not be like other beings, animal being or other things. We are the inheritance of God's children. God has given us all qualities. We should not differentiate from bad to good. Both are needed in one's life. Unless there is a bad, nobody recognizes a good. That's why one should adopt the act in the form of purposeful life achievement. Unless have purpose, one cannot judge the destination of his life. That's why we have to have some goals to fulfill our purpose of life. What is Dharma says? Dharma means duty mindedness. It possesses so many duties to us. In detail we will get it. Artha means there are two meanings: purpose as well as wealth. Kama, desire. Moksha, salvation. These four Purusharthas are prescribed to enlighten our life and fulfill the purpose of our life. We should know in detail. We should know thoroughly. Otherwise, the cause of birth will become futile, mean mere waste. We should make it fertile, mean most useful. For this, we have to question ourselves. What for I was born on this earth? The achievement of one's life will be everlasting even after the decay of the mortal body. The fame may not disappear, is it not? Therefore, one should possess the sense of duty mindedness, especially in Hindu, not only in India, everywhere. Every human being should possess some sort of aims and goals to fructify or get fruits to the purpose of getting birth on this earth. Otherwise, we will be also considered like animal beings or etc. Therefore, we should think thoroughly. We have to decide. We have to search the purposes. Therefore, our ancestors gave us so many remedies, so many solutions that we have to understand, that we have to adapt to fulfill our goals. Let us see. In this regard, today I took the topic of purpose of life. Prayer. Jnananandamayam devam nirmalaspatikakritim Adaram sarvavidyanam hayagrevam This topic is very important to one's life. There are 4 Purusharthas called Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. These 4 are the most important system, especially in Indian tradition. Let us get the details of 4 Purusharthas. First, what stands? Dharma. This is the first and the foremost objective of pursuit of life. Dharma in Sanskrit word, and it has no exact equivalent in English language. It has a much wider significance than the word religion in its ordinary sense as currently in vogue in the existing conventional forms. The word dharma has derived from its root dhru, which means to uphold or to adopt or to safeguard, etc. In essence, therefore, dharma means that which is worthy of being upholded or being practiced. The dharma is a comprehensive term which covers the entire range of our values. What values? Human values. Dharma has 2 factors, genuine faith and devotion to God, as all noble qualities emanate from God. And another one, practice of righteousness in one's life, also called 10 basic principles of dharma. The above 2 factors can be unifying basis for all conventional religions. Hence, it has also been called as a Sanatana, forever, or Manava Dharma, human duty. The 10 basic principles dharma are following. Let us discuss. First, forbearance, Sahishnuta. It is a quality to remain calm and composed in all circumstances. Control of mind, Manonigram. One should exercise full control over the mind, which is always restless and changing. Kshama, forgiveness. It is a virtue of those who are physically and morally strong. However, it is not desirable to forgive a habitual wrongdoer. 4th one, non-stealing, asteya. One should not steal or take away or acquire anything which belongs to other without paying its proper price and without permission of the rightful person or owner. Next, 5th one, shaucha, mean cleanliness. Next to godliness. One should keep the body and mind and physical environment clean and pure. 6th one, wisdom, jnanam. One should always try to gain wisdom through study, self-experience, wise company. 7th, controller of senses. Control of senses means indriya nigraham. One should keep one's sense of action of the knowledge under control and become their master. There are 5 senses of knowledge, 5 senses of action. That is called Jnanendriya, Karmendriya. 8th, knowledge, Vidya or Jnana. One should acquire knowledge both of physical and spiritual domain from all possible sources. 9th, truth, Satyam. One should practice truth in thought, word and action. Non-anger, Akrodham. One should try to remain calm and balanced even in the face of provocation. So these are all the explanation of dharma. Now second, Purushartha is called Artha. Artha, or the acquisition of wealth, is the second most important pursuit or object of human life, the purpose of human life. Dharma comes first and Artha has to be based on Dharma. The observance of Dharma takes priority. The following are the foremost Artha. What are they? Number one, knowledge. It is the greatest wealth. Vidyadhanam sarvadanat pradhanam, both material and spiritual. Material knowledge relates to our worldly life requirements and activities, while spiritual knowledge relates to spirit, God, and inner life. Material knowledge is necessary to live worldly life, and it can be gained through proper education, intellectual pursuits, and everyday experience, etc. However, the spiritual knowledge is much difficult to acquire. Spiritual knowledge leads to self-realization. It can be attained through the hard practice of yogic disciplines. Next, health. It is another form of wealth. One had to acquire and good health, which includes the well-being at physical, emotional, and mental levels. Good food, proper regular exercise, and good thoughts are some of the fundamentals of good health. Third one, contentment. It is another wealth. It means abstinence of desire to possess more and more of life requirements and material possessions. It also implies that one should work honestly, try his best, and satisfied with the results of his efforts. Contentment gives mental peace and moral strength to remain calm in all circumstances. Fourth one, material wealth. It is another wealth. It should be acquired keeping dharma. Some portion of money should be used for charitable purposes. It should be expanded only for the necessities and not for one's greed, mean luxuries. One should not become slave of the material wealth, but should master it. Third one is dharma over, artha over, kama. Controlled fulfillment of desires. The third pursuit of life is kama, the desire for satisfaction of sensual urges, in which sexual gratification occupies the prime position. On a wider scale, it includes fulfillment of other material desires also. Kama is two-faceted. One, controlled and beneficial desire acts as a catalytic agent for actions in life. Much of the personal and worldly purpose progress is a result of desire to achieve something, to discover something new. Another uncontrolled or not beneficial desire can lead to destruction. It is therefore utmost important to gain knowledge on differentiating between the facets and then to entertain the desires in a controlled way. Let us now examine how desires are produced. First of all, desires are produced in the mind through the thought process when mind dwells on the objects of senses. When this happens, attachment to external object is produced. From attachment springs desire. The desire goes on increasing, and one desire leads to another, and so on. Endless process. Like fire to the which fuel is added, kama grows more and more with the indulgence of overwhelmed by kama. The soul also gets deluded, and the result is deterioration and destruction. Therefore, we should keep Kama under proper check and its desirable level in order to make life useful and purposeful. We should limit outside desires to as low as necessary for the daily living and fulfilling ones of lust, greed, and anger should be curbed absolutely. Such control should be enforced from the beginning through wisdom and discrimination. In another words, control of desire should be observed. Through proper understanding about the consequences of desires and should not be bounced back. Repeated reminders, checks, and strong determination are useful tools to avoid harmful desires. The observance of principles of dharma plays a vital role in the curbing and control of unwanted and harmful desires. Last fourth one, moksha means salvation, mukti, moksha. This is the fourth and final objective of human life. It is a state of liberation from misery and pain, which are also misery and abundant in human life. It is a state of ananda, perfect bliss, after attaining which nothing more remains to be attained. Human life is unique. He or she is at the top of creation. Only human beings, unlike other living beings, are endowed with higher intelligence, an ability to think, analyze, and discriminate between right and wrong. Unless these endowments are used to full advantage, there is not much difference between human and animal life. Only human beings can go beyond the animal level and reach higher spiritual goals. The attainment of moksha is extremely difficult to achieve. This usually takes efforts on many births and rebirths, and many or may not be achieved in one's current span of life, except in a few rare cases. It requires arduous spiritual practice, constant and universal or unselfish devotion to God, an attitude of non-detachment, etc. Our knowledge, selfless action, pure and constant devotion are some of the means which are helpful in attaining moksha. The attainment of moksha is the highest goal of life. This is the final objective of human life. But there is no instant moksha. One has to first go through and attain the first three objectives, dharma, artha, and kama, taking sannyasa means renunciation from very beginning from worldly life, except in certain rare cases, is not recommended. Life has to be first lived at the material level, when artha means wealth has to be acquired, and subsequently all noble desires have to be fulfilled. But all these are required to be attained within the constraints of dharma. Thus, kama and artha have to be accommodated within the overall control of dharma. Hinduism is not averse to the idea of success or achievement. Worldly life, acquiring wealth, professional competence, supernatural achievements, perfection in practice, excellence in moral and spiritual life, wars and conflicts between good and evil, victory and defeat, opulence, self-made men or great eminence, and the rise and fall of great heroes, cities, empires, and kingdoms are the typical themes of many scriptures of Hinduism. They make the mortal life a source of great suffering and with the very justification to work for liberation. Duty towards self. Duties towards self can be divided into duties towards the body, the mind, and the soul, respectively, which lead to health, strength, and mental clarity, purity means sattva, and spiritual transformation. Their purpose is to improve and maintain one's own physical, mental, and spiritual well being. The Bhagavad Gita says one should uplift one's by one's self and one should not debase oneself because surely the self is one's own friend and one's own enemy. It means you are your own best friend when you are on the path of righteousness, and your worst enemy when you indulge in evil actions. Therefore, one should not indulge in any action that would lead to one's moral and spiritual downfall in darker side of demonic hells or demonic hells. Although householders lead worldly lives, eventually they have to work for their liberation. In this regard, we have to have duty towards gods. What is this? The gods exist in the body as organs and in the universe as the lord of their respective spheres. Since they are all selfless and do not make the food for themselves, human beings are obliged by duty to perform rituals and sacrifice and make them offerings of food. Next, duty towards ancestors. Your ancestors are responsible for your birth. They contributed to your gene pool, hence they owe a debt of gratitude. According to the Vedas, upon departing from the here, the souls live in the ancestral world until their karmas are exhausted. By doing good deeds, living virtuously, performing rituals, and making them offering of food, their descendants can prolong their stay and grant them better lives in the next birth. This is Pitru Yajna, sacrifice to the ancestors, which the Vedas declare as the duty of human beings towards their ancestors. Purvikulu in Telugu. It's if your ancestors are happy, they would bless all of us and attain peace and prosperity in one's life. By serving them, you will repay the karmic debt you owe to him. Duty towards progeny. Progeny means santana. Hindus are expected to work for the welcome of their conception until they renounce their worldly lives and take up renunciation. Parents have an obligation to perform all the sacraments for the children, educate them either personally or with the help of learned teachers, teach them their duties, that's the main, and responsibilities also. Inculcate in them good values and help them become virtuous individuals. At the same time of death, they are also expected to pass on their good name, qualities. Children through good abilities can be born in same families as the children or grandchildren of their own children. Such duties become even more important to preserve the family line, name, status, and reputation. duty towards fellow human beings. As a Hindu, you are not expected to live selfishly for yourself or your family only, because you are but a representative of God upon earth. Your life, identity, power, abilities, strengths, riches, and virtues. These are all his basic sentiments. In fact, it was only the virtue which Brahma specifically taught humans in the beginning of creation for the proceed and happiness. Beginning is given. In Hinduism, service to humanity is considered service to God. Manava Sevaiva Madhava Seva. Hence, Hindus have an obligation to help the poor and needy, the weak and the disabled belongs, the mendicants and works together. Ascetics who do not cook food for themselves, they are also expected to serve the educate those who approach them with a request to learn them knowledge. 6.1. Duty towards other living beings. Since all beings possess souls and service, they are manifestation of Brahman only. Hindus have an obligation to show compassion towards all in practice non-violence and avoid harming and hurting any other, except in self-defense. They are also expected to nourish them, return their meals, and help them survive and flourish. Hinduism is the only religion, whereas animals are not treated with the consideration, but also traditionally worshipped. Many deities have either animal forms and features for use of animals' forms and their vehicles. Animals have also duties in creation. Human in different capabilities we can find. As the Vedas say, just as a human are to gods, the cattle are to humans. Now, duties towards a society. Hindus have an obligation, ascetics who do not cook food, to uphold the order and regularity of society. They are not expected to destroy or disturb the institutions, family case, and so on. It is very particular in this regard. He could not leave it and the purposeful life. By teaching Dharma and its sense to the humankind, we can make them to transform in good activities. The scriptures declare that whenever society is in decline and evil is standing on the upper part, therefore one should consider previously. God himself manifests upon earth to restore Dharma, or the may manifest his aspects, emanations, demigods, and associate powers for the same purpose. During normal times, you are expected to do it in our individual capacity as upholders of Dharma. Next, moral duties. In Hinduism, every human being has an obligation to productive virtue and uphold the divine law. They have to cultivate purity, means sattva, and discernment, buddhi, and follow the injunctions and guidance prescribed in this regard. Some important moral duties are study and recitation of scriptures, prayers, worship, rituals, sacrifices, devotion, self-restraint, purity, moral discipline, discontentment, virtues as non-violent, truthfulness, non-stealing, celibacy before marriage, and non-covetousness. Other duties include respecting the elders, parents and teachers taking care of an old aged people along with them to give protection for the children. Professional duties mean caste duties. Hindus have are all obliged to perform certain duties and responsibilities with the power, position, caste, and authority. For example, each caste and caste related profession entails upon members certain duties and obligations. The today's world, most professions are not birth related. However, it is all still important that they are performed according to the established practice. For example, those who are in leadership activities have to act firmly and impartially without falling for temptation and selfishness. Those who become spiritual teachers to take, appreciate functions have to live virtuously and spread the knowledge of Dharma. Those who become the warriors of Hinduism have to define their faith, their land, and the people who practice its tamas and merchants have to practice their professions without living, cheating, and deceiving. Duties towards other faiths. It is a duty in Hindu practice, his faith, but not to settle in the minds of those who do not practice it. They are expected to show restraint and friendshipness in dealing with people of other faiths and live in harmony with them. Hinduism clearly affirms that the paths to the God are many and all paths lead to Him only. They are the most benign and compassionate beings, and yet each a warrior who will not hesitate to fight with the demands if the situation demands. Finally, the Hinduism, the way of duty is the way of karma. As stated before, all duties in creation arise from God only, who is the true doer and source of all actions. The duties of human beings upon earth come from God only as delegated responsibilities. Therefore, it is important that in performing them, in one should remain selfless and offer fruit of such actions to God only, who is the source of cause of all. This is called the renunciation of the fruit of one's actions, whereby actions do not bind you. श्रीकांताय कल्याणनिधे निधनाम श्री वेंकटवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगलम मंगलाशास्त्र बुधाचार्य पुरोगमे सर्वेश गुरुवैराचार्य सत्कृतायास्तु मंगलम।